Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed. I hope you're all keeping well. On this video we've got a new product from RETEVIS. Now when I say RETEVIS, you probably think of these little handheld transceivers. I've done over a dozen of these little radios before. But no, this is something different because RETEVIS are branching out into CB radio, and in this box we have a very retro looking CB. So let's crack into it. This new CB, model number MB62, comes like all RETEVIS products, very nicely packed, and you do get a decent instruction booklet. You know what I'm like with instruction booklets. It's a very simple radio, this, very retro styled, very little in the way of options, and I don't believe there's any menu system at all. So it should be very easy to use, very little learning curve. It's nice that they do a frequency list along with all the channels, because there's no frequency display on the radio, just FM and AM with all the European bands as well. Let's get it out the bag and have a look at it. Now this is a budget CB radio. I believe sells for about £60 UK, so that's right on the bottom of what you'll pay for a CB radio. But straight away, straight out of the box, what I like about it is that it's a full-sized radio with a decent full-sized speaker. Now, not a criticism, but probably the most popular cheap budget radio, I've got the Radioddity CB27 Pro here, but it's the CRT1. This is pretty much the most popular cheap CB radio, but it is tiny. You can see the comparison, and the buttons are really, really small. There's no volume knobs or anything. Everything's controlled really by the buttons and the microphone. This is old school. We are talking a on-off switch and a manual volume control, and also a simple manual squelch, and that is such a relief that I must admit, with modern radios, I don't like the fact where you have to go into a menu and you've got an up and down for the squelch. Wherever you set it on, just, you know, it isn't accurate. When you get a different breaker, you have to readjust it. You're often riding the squelch, so it's really refreshing to see a manual squelch. Let's just zoom in on the radio a little bit. I'm seeing this for the first time, as you are, so my initial impressions. Well, the first thing I can see, it's got a simple LED channel indicator, very old school, very much like we had in the day, although I can't see a tint over that, and I imagine that's going to be quite bright unless there's a dimmer control. And then along here, looks like you've just got very, very simple LEDs here for a few functions that the radio has. Straight away I can see auto squelch, Roger beep, voice, Vox activated, and a lock function. And then across the bottom, it appears we've just got a few buttons here for the features. I can't see any way that you can go into a menu system. I imagine when you start the radio up, I'll have to read the instructions, but I should imagine you hold down one of these buttons and then you can go into the different bands, because it does cover all of the EU bands as well as the UK FM. But yeah, it looks very, very simple. This is going to suit people that can't stand LCD displays and menu options. The only thing I'm seeing straight away is the mic plug is a little bit odd. It looks like a DIN socket to me. Yeah, I think that's a 6-pin DIN socket. I would have liked to have seen that as a standard 6-pin plug, so you can swap the microphone out. Although a lot of the microphones now are generic to the radio because they have controls on the top. But hopefully it'll be, I imagine, a condenser microphone, and hopefully it'll be absolutely fine. So I think what I need to do is just have a quick look what comes in the rest of the box, and then we'll put some power to it. I'll try and keep this brief because I'm not a fan of box opening videos myself, but it's interesting to see what we get. Little bag of standard accessories. We've got a metal mic clip there. We've got little side screws for the radio bracket, and also an inline radio fuse. Quite nice they supply that. You shouldn't really have any problem blowing the fuse, because you shouldn't wire it up back to front, but if you do, it's good they supply that. Bracket itself, it's not painted. I do prefer brackets that are painted, especially if you're going to use this indoors. but that's fine, to be perfectly honest. And then here is the condenser microphone. So yeah, we've got this rather odd 6-pin DIN plug that goes into the radio. That's quite unique. A lot of radios like Yaesu have gone over to the sort of LAN socket. I've not actually seen a radio with a DIN plug before. But as long as the microphone's of good quality, there's no really reason you'd want to change it. So here's the microphone itself. It's a non-clicky push-to-talk. Doesn't click. It's quite linear. No controls though on top of the mic. Now, that's a bit strange because there's no channel selector on the radio. I would have thought it would have an up and down control on the radio, and some radios actually have a programmable button in the middle that you can use to cancel the squelch. Okay, well that's a little bit odd. So obviously you're going to be dependent on the up and down control here to change channel. Might be a slight issue if you're going to use this mobile, because you probably want that on top of the microphone for ease of use, but it does have voice activation, which is something that's quite good. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the power lead. Let's quickly swing the radio round. So here we go. So the power lead is it's permanently fixed in the radio. That's pretty standard. 259 plug, and that's interesting. Now this is a 4-watt radio. This is a perfectly legal radio, but it does have a meaty heatsink on the back. And in the past, with other Chinese CB radios, I've generally found that when it's got a heatsink, there's normally a little mod that you can do, and you can increase the transmit power. Simon the Wizard is the guy that normally finds out these mods, but this radio is so new that I haven't really seen any other reviews on it, let alone any mods. Maybe if I get time at the end of the video, as it's a demonstration model, maybe I'll open it up. There's no tape. There's no kind of anti-tamper tape on it, so maybe I'll open it up and we'll just have a little look inside. Maybe there's a little jumper or something that you can adjust. It might just be easy to quickly mod it. Anyway, power lead. Yeah, looks fairly decent. Inline fuse, of course, and comes with a standard 12 volt, what used to be called cigarette lighter socket, and is now auxiliary socket. Generally, in cars, you are okay for up to about 10 amps, and I've been told they go up to 20 amps. Let me just quickly look at the specs of the radio. This will probably tell us whether this is moddable. I mean, generally, you're looking at 1.5–2 amps maximum power draw on a CB radio that's 4 watts. And let me just find the specs, bear with me. Right, here we go. So 13.8 volts transmit, maximum current drain, transmit 3 amps. So yeah, it's pulling 3 amps. That's a little high for 4 watts. Might be moddable. We'll find out at the end of the video. Oh, sorry, not the camera. Anyway, let me just put some power to it and let's see what it looks like. One thing worth noting, if you're new to CB and you're planning to set up a home base, it might be worth paying a little bit extra and investing in one of these cheaper Chinese power supplies that has the cigarette lighter socket in the front. It just makes it so easy if you're swapping out lower powered radios. You can just plug it straight in, just like that. Now we have it. Doesn't that look retro? Now I do like this LED channel indicator, but that is super bright. I think it's slightly blowing out the camera. It looks very, very sharp to me. Let me just manually adjust the iris on the camera so we can see how sharp that is. There we go. I've had to really close up the lens so it's not blowing the camera, but it is very, very sharp. But it is bright, and I can't see any button here to dim it. I mean, some of the old CBs back in the day used to have a dimmer button. Personally, I would look out for a little bit of dark tinted film or a bit of neutral density film or something. I would definitely put something over that. Nighttime, that's going to be very bright. That's going to light up a room. So a quick look at some of the functions, and I'm just learning as you are here. So auto squelch control. We'll test that once we get an antenna connected, and then simple up and down. It's got a key beep, which is a little bit annoying. I'll try and switch that off when I work out how. Simple AM and FM. Now this ships with the UK CB band and built into it, which we can change to the others. We'll try that in a second. I'm just looking below the, I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, but below the FM setting we have two LEDs. We have H and L, and again I think that might be high and low, so I wonder if there is some way to turn up the power of this. Then we have the Roger beep. Oh, okay, it's like it gives you a little example. Well, that's a bit weird. Like a trim phone. Oh, that's quite nice. That sounds like a 9900 bleep. That's a little bit off. Okay. No, it's, yeah, just a few there. I'd go for 4. That's quite nice. That's that sounds like a 9900. Emergency channels, so this will be obviously channel 9 and the brake channel, channel 19. Vox voice activated feature. Can't test that really because I haven't got an antenna. And then we have the key lock, which it still transmits, but that basically locks all the other keys. Right, let's see if we switch this off and switch it on again. Let's see if we can find out how many bands it's got. So to change bands, it says hold down the lock button and then turn the radio on. There we go. So straight away that's the Euro block, be AM and FM. Italian. Imagine that's German. I'm not sure about that. Poland. And that will be UK, won't it? And then CU. Yeah, so it covers all of the major European bands, so we should get a little bit of skip coming in on maybe AM and maybe FM. Of course, it is a 4-watt radio, so it's going to be, I don't know how you do that. Is this what you, I'm back on again, is it? Yeah, so it's only a 4-watt radio, so it's going to be a little bit underpowered for skip. So looking at the display, there's no signal meter at all. A bit like the early CRT ones. There's no signal meter. So everybody on this radio, if say, oh Fred, what am I giving you? You're 5 and 9. Everyone's going to be 5 and 9 on this, which is fine. I mean, you don't, to be honest with you, on a little radio like this, you don't really need a signal meter. I don't know if I can turn that key beep off, because that's a little annoying. Was there I didn't see a USB socket in the back actually. No, there's no programming socket. Oh, I didn't mention that. There is an extension speaker socket, and then with an appropriate mono to stereo adapter, because that will be a mono, you can use that for headphones. Although it has got this rather large speaker, so I think we'll just quickly test the static sound, and I think it will sound quite nice with that speaker. That's on AM. Let's just go to F. Oh, I'm on FM. I'm on the UK band. I can't go to AM. I need to go. Yeah, that's it. That sounds quite old school. It's got a bit of resonance. The smaller speakers you get in the smaller CBs, they do sound a bit tinny. That's got a nice kind of retro sound. Okay, let's just put an antenna to it, and we'll have a little flick round, see if we can get something on the Euro band.
Il problema non è solo questo, Marco, è che automaticamente diventerà un servizio di leva e ti vengono a prelevare con la forza, volendo o non volendo. Dico poi, dai all'occhio, perché quando matura la concommere si secca il gambo,
Çok güzel abim. Allah daha da devamını nasip etsin inşallah hepimize. Sempre bella potente, dicevo che mancava il Sud Italia, che è tutto l'anno che non lo ascoltavo, adesso pian piano ogni tanto salta fuori. With free element or
Got an English speaking guy here. Might try and break in. I'm only on 4 watts out the back.
Thomas, thank you for you. When I speak with you, I remember for Marco. Marco, please, for you.
QSK 16 to 64 UK call.
Thomas, Daniel, the Tuscany man, is the boss, the big boss of this frequency, and the Radio 5. Thomas, mic to you.
Can't hear the other side, but the radio sounds absolutely great. That's very clear for a CB. It says he's using 200 watts. I haven't got much chance with 4 watts out the back, have I? Let's give a call out for a laugh. 26 Charlie Tango 1664 QRP station Charlie Tango 1664 UK QRP.
After I changed for other friends, the CRT 9900.
There's a good operator there. He's handling that pile up quite well. I don't think there's much chance of me getting back to him. He's on a beam and he's using 200 watts from Italy, and I'm on a vertical using probably about 3 watts to the antenna. Just scanning the UK 40 FM the Muppet channels on the hope that there might be someone on. It's a Saturday afternoon, and it'd be nice to get an on-air test report for the audio, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I've been scanning for a few minutes now, and other than a little tiny bit of skip breaking through, there's nothing coming on. So I think I'm going to have to do it the DIY way. There'll be no mates. I think I'm going to have to perhaps set this up in the shed shack and then receive it on one of my HF radios over here. I think that's just cross modulation. I think that's a bit of skip coming in. Yeah, it sounds foreign. It's very distant. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do it myself, and just to hear how it sounds, really, how the audio sounds on this condenser microphone. Just in the shed shack now. So I just rigged this up temporarily. Going to do a call out test on channel 30 on the UK FM. So the next time you hear my audio, it will be coming through the Alinco up in the main shack, and we can hear what this sounds like.
Audio test 1 2 on the little RETEVIS. I'm now talking about 3 inches away from the microphone in my normal talking voice. On the next over, I'll move in closer. Okay, this time I'm holding the microphone right close to my lips and talking across the grill, so really chewing the mic now. Audio test 1 2 1 2 3 4 audio.
And there you go then, the RETEVIS MB62, very retro looking CB radio. I do think it's nice that RETEVIS have come up with something different to start their sales in CB radio. They could have just chosen a generic radio, a bit like the CRTs, and rebranded it, but no, this is something that I've not seen before. I do like the look of it. I do like the classic LED channel indicator, although it is, as I said, it is quite bright. And I have enjoyed using a manual squelch pot. It's so much easier than having to click a button and then choose a menu on 1 to 5 or whatever. If you just miss a weak station and you think you may have missed it, just drop the squelch. And the same with the volume as well. And it does sound like a proper CB because it's got a decent speaker. Definitely sounds like a proper CB as well. So that's a good thing. It's a little bit quirky though. I mean, the 6-pin mic plug, that is a little bit odd, I must admit. But other than that, yeah, if you're looking for a retro look CB with all the controls on the front panel and you're sick of menus, then this could be a CB for you. It is cheap. I haven't checked the price out. I believe it's about below 60 UK pounds. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to go and check it out further. I don't know if I'll get a discount code. I might be cheeky. If I do get a discount code, I'll put it in there as well. So I think that's it for the review. what I'm going to do now, if you want to stay on, is I'm going to take this downstairs and I'm going to have a little look inside it. Just have a look round and just on the off chance that there is a very simple little mod that we might be able to get some extra power out of it. Don't know, but that'll be coming up in just a second. But if you just come for the review, as always, there you go. Thumbs up from Fred in the Shed. Thanks for your view time. Really appreciate you dropping by. Just hit me a thumbs up before you go, and hang on if you want to see what's inside the radio. Right, we're going to have a look inside the radio now. Incidentally, I've just checked online, and this radio is now selling for £53 with a 15% discount, so I probably won't get anything else off of that. £53 makes it the cheapest radio I've ever tested. I don't think you'll get a radio much cheaper, to be perfectly honest. I sound a bit like a salesman now, don't I? But I really don't think you will. Okay, let me just speed this little bit up while I'm taking the screws out. Okay, let's have a peering side. It's worth noting that the speaker is screwed onto the chassis of the radio. It's not hot glued on like some of the shortwave radios. There we go. That's what it looks like. So yeah, pretty plain 8 ohm 3 watt speaker there. Let me zoom a little bit closer on the board and let's have a look. So straight away, just looking at the board there, I don't know if you can see it. Let me move it around a little bit. Hopefully, yeah, you can now. So yeah, look, straight away I'm seeing the usual white wire on the board, and also a little jumper there that's marked 321. Now normally on these type of radios, if you cut the white wire, that generally opens up the complete spectrum of frequency all the way down to 26 up to the sort of 10 meter band up to 30 megs. We haven't got a frequency display on this radio, so I'm a little bit skeptical to do that, but I can very easily move that jumper and that might increase the power output. I thought it would, because if you look down here, you've got the final transistors here and they're connected to this rather large heatsink. So I think what I need to do now is we just need to take this a stage further, set up a dummy load and then test the radio before we change that jumper, and then see what happens afterwards. Here's the setup then. We've got the little SWR power meter, 30 amp power supply with ammeter, so we can see the load, and all of that's being directed into Gary's dummy load there. So we're on channel 20 on the UK Muppets. So let's see how much power we're getting. Okay, here we go then. So FM, of course, dead key. And there we go. So 2.85 watts with an SWR of 1.13, and the amp meter there barely moving. Probably about half an amp at a rough estimate. Let's change now to the EU block, the Euro block, and then we can try AM as well. Should probably put out a little bit more on EU. There we go. So EU. Let's go down to channel 20 again. Okay, we're still on FM. Let's key up. About the same. So yeah, 3.6 watts. A little bit more, isn't it? SWR 1.12, and the ammeter barely moving. We can change on to AM. Same thing, a little bit of swing with modulation. 3.6, just audio. Yeah, it's very hard. It's all over the place, isn't it? But it looks round about 4 watts. yeah, if I don't speak, it's about 3.6 to maybe 4 watts. Okay, so let's put that back to FM. So that's pretty much what you'd expect. That's the standard output. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go inside and we'll change that little jumper switch, and then we'll see what happens. So currently that's jumping across 2 and 3. Hopefully you can see it on camera. Right, I'm going to now try and carefully pull that off and reattach it. There we go. So I'm now going to jump pins 1 and 2. Let's see what that does. So the first thing to check is that we've still got the UK band. Let me switch on. Well, we've changed channel, haven't we? Okay, let's do the lock and switch on. Didn't seem to work. Alright, okay, so we no longer, looks like we can no longer change channel. So I'm not sure what band we're on at the moment. I'd assume we're on the EU band. Let's just key up, see what happens. Okay, so yeah, we're still on about 3.9 watts, no increase there on the power. Same on the ammeter. So yeah, it appears that we've lost the European channels. We seem to be locked just in the 140 group. So I think what I'm going to do, I don't really want to cut that wire, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely remove the jumper entirely now, and then we'll see what happens. Right, going to take the jumper completely out now, put that somewhere safe. Let's put it back together, see what happens. Okay, let's turn it on this time. So yeah, that looks the same, doesn't it? I just wonder how we can get the high and low power LED to light up. So let's turn it off, let's hold down the lock button. Still seems to be in European mode, I think. Try it once more. So I think we've only got, yeah, we've only got 40 channels now, AM, FM. Okay, so I think the only thing left to do is to snip that little wire and just see what that does. Right, the first thing I've done, I've put the little jumper back to how it was originally on 2 and 3, because that's obviously the export mode. Without that, I'm not getting any European channels at all. So what we're going to do now is very carefully just snip this wire. There we go. That is now, you can't really see it too well, but that is now completely broken. And let's put it back together, see what happens. Right, let's turn on. Hopefully we've got the Euro channels back. I think we have. So that's interesting. That went on to DE there by default. So if I now hold down the lock button. Hang on. Okay, so a couple of things have changed. I don't know if you can see that, but the little LED there, the low power indicator, has now come on. But there we go. Right, up, EE, and these are new, FE, GE, HE, 1E. So this is now banded. This is what I suspected. So what's happened now? J, H, L, A, B. So this is now gone into a banded radio. Unfortunately with that I won't know what the frequencies are. D, E, F, G. Okay, so I've got to be a little bit careful here. I'm only on a dummy load, I'm not on an antenna. Let's go for H for example there, or H. I can't say H, people get upset. H. Alright, okay, let's go for that. Hold down that then. So let's go up to channel 20. And that's saying low power, isn't it? Let's key up now. Okay, yeah, so 3.3 watts. Low power, channel 20. Now how do I change this to high power? I've got no... That's still the scan. Still up and down. Okay, yeah, there's no way button combination wise you can change that from high to low. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back inside it and just swap that jumper over. Let's do that. I'll do that off camera, don't worry. That was still showing the low power, and I suppose if I key up, yeah, still about 3.5 watts. Okay, right, I'm going to completely remove that jumper, see if it goes to high power. Right, that's the jumper removed now. Switch the power back on. So it looks like we're still banded. I'll just double check that. Yeah. So we're still in the regular JF bands. Still on low power though. Yeah, so I'm a little bit, there must be a way of turning it up to high power because it's there, but I'm a little bit confused. Something to do with this lock. Maybe. No. Didn't like that, did it? Oh, done it. Hang on. Did it? Did you see that? Hopefully you did. What did I do? I held down the AM and the FM key. I held the lock button here and the AM and FM key. Let's try it again. Let's hold those two together. That's it. There you go. Look. Low. High. Brilliant. So we now have high power. Let's just go to channel 20 again. And let's see what the radio outputs. Wow, how about that? On FM, 18.5 watts. I knew that heatsink did something, and if you look at the ammeter on the power supply, that first digit there, 2468, that's 2 amps, isn't it? So that's just roughly under 2 amps. Let's go to AM. And there you go. So on AM, it's swinging around, but it's about 7.5 watts. And back to FM. So that's quite a bit of power on. But as I say, we're now. Yeah, we're now in a situation where we've got the radio wide banded, and we're not exactly sure what band we're on. It's a pity I can't get that to work on the UK and the Euro bands. Yeah, that is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Okay, what I might just do, just to run the video out, is that I might just resolder that wire. Now I know which buttons to press, and I'll resolder it and then see if it works when I've got the Euro bands back. Okay, so where we are now, because this is getting quite confusing, I've resoldered the wire and I've put the jumper back on the 2 and 3 position, which is where we started, and I just want to see, now I know the button combinations, if it's possible to turn the power up with the EU and UK channels. Hope that makes sense. Right, we're back to the original spec. I really can't see this working, to be perfectly honest. It'd be awesome if it did. Let's just quickly, right, that's on the EU there. Let me just quickly see if we can get back to the UK. Yeah, so that's all working again. So that's the UK channels. And there we go. And unfortunately, the little LED that was on the high and the low, that's not lit up. So if I hold down the lock button and then the AM FM. No. No. So we're stuck with 3.5 watts, 3.67 watts. Yeah, that's what I thought. So to sum it up then, it appears if you snip that wire, then you can wideband a radio entirely from bands, what was it, A to I or something. And I imagine that's going to be from 26 megahertz all the way up to probably 30 megahertz. And it would be possible with another radio, if you've got another radio, it would be possible to find which one of those is the Euroband. So you can potentially have an 18.5 watt FM radio, which will cover the Euroband, which will also be the American CB band. And you can go on to AM, so that's, what was it, 7 point something watts. I suppose you could always put a little switch at the back of the radio if you wanted just to switch across between having that wire cut and that wire open. If you move the jumper, then you lose all of the Euro bands and it just locks onto 40 channels, which I think it said DE or something. It probably would be the Euro block, but obviously unless you cut that wire, you can't get the increased power. So that was quite interesting. It was a little bit involved, wasn't it? Personally, you know, I'm just going to stick with it as a 4 watt radio. I mean, if I want to get extra power, I can just run it into a little linear or something and probably get 60-70 watts out of it. But I mean, as it stands, other than maybe the mic plug, which I would have preferred a 6-pin plug, but yeah, it's a retro looking £50 radio. You're not going to get anything much cheaper than that. Anyway, going to bring this video to a close. Thank you for sticking with the very end. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Hope I kept up with it okay. As always, thumbs up there from Fred in the Shed for your view time. I really appreciate you dropping by the channel. If you get a moment before you go, just hit me a thumbs up down at the bottom there. I really would appreciate that. That does help me help the channel. But as always, please, please, please look after each other. Stay safe for me, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.